I don't know if you're like me and you have 800,000 open tabs on your laptop. I think right now I have 186 open tabs on my phone, and I have my personal Google account and my work Google account on my laptop, and they're both just like open tabs everywhere. Look, it works for me, and I have a very visual memory. I don't want to call it photographic, but it's very visual, and so I can close my eyes and I know where a certain article is in this mass of tabs, whether it's on my phone or on my laptop. And I've been talking today about the fact that I think the reason we are seeing MAGA fracture is not really about the Epstein files. I think what it is that so many Trump voters believed that Donald Trump was a populist. They voted for him because he literally said he was going to make America great again. He told coal mining folks in West Virginia he was going to bring back the coal industry. He told blue collar workers all over the country, I'm going to bring back all of these industries that are struggling. I'm going to make you prosperous again. And they believed him, right? And I think for too many of us on the political left, we are tempted to believe everybody who voted for Donald Trump is just a racist. They're just a bigot. They just hate women. For the bazillionth time, I am not in any way underplaying the ways that Donald Trump and the Republicans harnessed existing racism in the culture, harnessed existing misogyny in the culture, and used it to their benefit. But it is not as simple as everybody who voted for MAGA is just a racist piece of shit. There are lots of very normal people who voted for Donald Trump because they were struggling under Joe Biden and they felt that the Democrats had abandoned them. And they felt that way because the Democrats did. We've seen Democrats act like they are the party for the people. But Democratic leadership is run by billionaires. It's run by corporate interest, foreign interest. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are run by AIPAC and they're run by billionaires. Oh, and they're also run by their own stock portfolios, but I want to talk about that in the next video. The reason Donald Trump could say things like drain the swamp, he could call them Democratic elites. The reason Donald Trump, a literal billionaire, could paint himself as a populist, as somebody who understands the plight of the working class and was going to make America great again for them. The reason that grift was so easy for him to play, the reason he could so easily con Republicans on the right is because there are multiple grains of truth to what he was saying. The experience of conservative rural America is that they have been abandoned by the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party to them represents corruption, pork. They are the swamp. Think of Bill and Hillary Clinton. They think of the ways that Joe Biden was telling everybody, hey, we're prosperous, the economy's booming. But conservative rural America didn't experience that economic prosperity in their own lives. So they were vulnerable to the con of a billionaire who came to them and said, I'm going to fix all of this. Vote for me. I'm the other guy. I will bring you prosperity. I will restore this nation to whatever version of greatness lives in your head. If the Democrats had cared about working class people in rural America, if they had been addressing the needs of working class people instead of prioritizing corporate profit, special interest, foreign interest, the same way that Republicans do, Donald Trump's lies would not have worked. Any good con has elements of truth in it, and I think that is very much why so much of rural America has been susceptible to the Make America Great Again lie, to the lies, the faux populism of Donald Trump. Conservative, working class America, just like progressive and leftist working class America, they really wanted a populist. The appetite has been there in this country for populism because we are all being exploited by the oligarchy. We are all being exploited under capitalism. The suffering that we over here experience, y'all, working class folks on the right, they are similarly oppressed by a capitalist system. They are similarly exploited. They also have watched their quality of life decrease. They wanted a populist president. Now, you and I can be like, how did they ever believe that a billionaire whose friends are all the super rich elite billionaires, like how did any MAGA ever believe that Donald Trump was a populist who cared about the working class? They did, y'all. And now they're like, wait, whoa, hang on. We've had almost a year of this, and we can see that actually Donald Trump is throwing extravagant, great Gatsby themed parties, spending millions of dollars. He's grifting off the American people. His regime is actually all about corruption. It's all about funneling our tax dollars up to the billionaires. It's taking away health insurance from tens of millions of Americans so that fucking Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg can, have more money to slap on their giant pile of gold. They're now realizing that Donald Trump is making their lives actively worse, and he is exacerbating the wealth disparity in this country. The super rich are getting richer and richer and richer off of Donald Trump's corruption. Well, we all see the basic services that our tax dollars should fund be completely taken away from us. I believe Donald Trump was a populist. This is the man who says that we don't need FEMA, right? If your house is destroyed in a tornado, no. Your tax dollars don't need to help cover that. Your tax dollars, they need to go into the pockets of billionaires, and y'all figure out what happens when your farm gets flooded. Y'all figure out what happens when a hurricane comes through and levels your town. So getting back to what I was saying at the beginning of this video about 100 million open tabs, as I've been realizing that MAGA is kind of waking up to the reality that Trump is not a populist after all. He was never going to drain the swamp because he is the swamp. He was never going to release the Epstein files because he's in the Epstein files. I was like, oh, you know what? That New Republic story from the first week of March, now's the time. I've been holding on to that story, and now is its moment. March 4th, the New Republic, Alex Shepard, Donald Trump is a fake populist. His second term has been driven by long-standing priorities of the conservative movement. 8 years ago, when Donald Trump addressed the nation for the first time as president, he did so as the revolutionary leader of a massive populist movement. If you are on the political left, I bet that sentence rankles you. I bet you don't like hearing that. The government he had just been tasked with leading, he argued in his inaugural address, was corrupt. Its economic system rigged. This was the drain the swamp era. The people surrounding him on stage, the country's political and business elite, had spent decades lining their pockets and growing more powerful as much of the country went to hell. America's cities, in Trump's telling, had become wastelands, riven by gang violence, drug abuse, and unemployment problems that could be traced back to free trade deals and lax immigration policies pushed by both parties. This is what Trump said in his inaugural address in his first term. Today, we are not transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C. and giving it back to you, the people. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. I'm telling y'all, what you and I knew Donald Trump to be is not the same thing he was telling his constituents that he was. What we understood he was going to do and has been doing is not the same thing he's been promising to his constituents. Not just to the cult of MAGA, but also to anybody that voted for him. Jumping down in the article here, in 2016, Trump really did run a populist campaign. He argued that the nation's leaders were screwing over the country everywhere, spending billions on alliances and wars. Remember, Donald Trump had painted himself as like the president who's going to end all wars. He's threatened war against Canada, Mexico, Denmark, Venezuela. Help me out, y'all. That's not an exhaustive list, but he's just been a warmongering president left. War against the American people in our own cities. Donald Trump, the I'm going to end all wars president, has been waging war against the American people in cities around the United States. But during his first run, Donald Trump did cast himself as a different breed of Republican, saying he was breaking from long-standing orthodoxy, that he really cared about the people, that he was going to protect Social Security and Medicare. But this part here, Trump's brand of populism has always been intertwined with extreme xenophobic immigration policy as the centerpiece of his political project from its inception. Do you remember the wall with Mexico that he said he was going to make Mexico pay for? Donald Trump has been all about protectionism, isolationism, nationalism, because he's always been a would-be fascist. But folks who voted for him, they don't see themselves as fascists, y'all. They see themselves as populists, even if they don't have the language for that. Because I think at their core, they actually are populists. They actually find the policies of folks like Zoran Mamdani compelling, because those are policies that help care for the working class and use our tax dollars to benefit us. But here is why I think the cult of MAGA is crumbling now, why Trump voters are fleeing from him now. Back in March, TNR could see it coming. In the opening weeks of Trump's second term, he wielded a populist mandate and used it almost entirely to advance the interests of the rich and powerful. The opening weeks of Trump's second term have been perhaps the most frenetic and consequential in more than half a century. His agenda can no longer be credibly described as populist. And this, I think, is ultimately why conservative voters are turning against him, and why I think The message of democratic socialism, the message of populism, is the future of American politics.